Hi everyone. So today I am doing something a little bit different. I wanted to talk about interlocking crochet and the front of the design versus the back of the design. I feel like this is where people really get confused when they first learn interlocking crochet, especially if they have a pattern that has chart of just the front, which most interlocking crochet patterns will only have the front chart. And since the back looks completely different a lot of the time, it can be really confusing. So for example, this blanket I made, here's like the front of this square versus the back of the square. They're not going to look the same. So depending on the pattern, it could be very different, or it could be pretty similar, but either way, it's not going to be identical. And so I'm not going to go over specifically how to read a chart in this video, but I'm going to show you a fun little tool that I made to play with so you can start to understand the relationship between the front and the back and how what you do on the front side impacts what the back is going to look like. And so I just played around on this Google Doc that I'm going to share, and I will put a link to it on my blog so that you can play around with it if you want. You'll have to save a copy of it to your Google Drive to use it, but you're welcome to play with it. Just it's not really useful as a design tool so much because it's just made with like conditional formatting in Google Drive, so it's more educational, but it's kind of fun to play with. So I'll show you how it works. Okay, so this is just like a little sample I made. And so in this spreadsheet, this black border shouldn't be changed, and all of these black squares have to be black in the final product. Unless you're using diagonal stitches or like a solid color section, which is not like traditional interlocking crochet. If you're doing traditional interlocking crochet, all of these black squares on this grid have to be black, and all of the, or your color A, and all of these gray squares on this grid have to be color B or white. So if you want to play with this spreadsheet, here I'm going to delete all this stuff that I filled in here. Maybe. There it goes. Okay, so all you do, you can't change the gray and the black squares, but you can change the white squares to be either color. And all you have to do to change the color is type in a 1 or a 2. And this is why it's a little clunky, it's a little slow. You can't just click because I couldn't find an easy way to make it work in Google Docs. So if I type in 1, it's going to be black. If I type in 2, it'll be gray. If I try and type in a 1 over here on this gray square that has to be gray, it's just going to say 1. It's not going to change the color. So you can only change the color of the white squares that start white. So let's say I wanted to do a plus design, and I don't know, maybe this is going to be gray, and we'll just fill in a sample here, and then I'll show you the next part of the chart because it's kind of fun, I think, but I'm also nerdy, so whatever. All right, so we've got some pluses. Maybe I'm going to do, I don't know, zigzag. That connected to my plus, but whatever. That was weird. I don't know why I did that. Let's change that back. Okay, so I'm just going to fill in a couple of rows here just so you can get an idea of like what it will look like on the other side. So you might have a guess about what this is going to look like on the other side, and if you've done interlocking crochet for a while, you probably have a pretty good idea. But if you're new to interlocking crochet, it's just a complete guess, right? You have no idea what the back is going to look like. Make a box here. Maybe another box over here. And the more of these squares you fill in, the easier it will be to tell. Another little box here. What the back is going to look like. So fill in the gray squares too, and it'll work better when you switch to the back sheet. So I'm just filling in this example, doing whatever I want. Maybe over here I'm going to make a weird smiley face. And sure, here's an eyeball for my smiley face. Not there. Does not make sense. Okay. And so then all of these other white squares will be gray. So you might think, oh, that's going to be a smiley face on the back, but I guarantee it is not going to be a smiley face on the back. I haven't actually tried a smiley face, but it's not gonna. I'm not gonna fill in this whole sheet because that will take me way too long. Okay, so you fill in like a sample design that you are curious about. You wonder, hey, what's this going to look like on the back of the project? So then to use this little tool, all you have to do is then click on down here on the bottom where it says back, and it will show you what the back of that's going to look like. So here we have zigzags coming down on the right side. On the front, we made those zigzags going up on the left side. So the first thing to notice when you switch from the front to the back is whatever is happening on the left side of the front is going to be on the right side of the back. So let's go back. So we remember we had this plus, we had zigzags, and these boxes down here. So when we look at the back, we've got now boxes where the pluses were, a plus where the box was, and our zigzags are going the opposite direction. So it's totally different. And this mess over here, this was our smiley face. It does not look anything like a smiley face right now. You can kind of see it, like these pluses are where the eyeballs were, those boxes for the eyes, and in here is where the mouth was, but it looks totally different. If you do vertical lines on the front, it's going to make horizontal lines on the back. So if you want to play with this spreadsheet, you totally can. I will, like I said, I'll put a link to it on my blog. There's a little how-to right here. It's just super simple directions. You just change it with a 1 or 2 on the front spreadsheet. Don't ever change any of the cells on the back spreadsheet because otherwise they won't autofill. So they're all based on what the front does. So get a little bit more into like the nitty-gritty of what happens. If I on the front put, well, first of all, if you'll notice, when I have nothing filled in, if you look at the bottom of this where it's just a grid, I've got the black border, and then the next row is alternating gray squares. And the row after that is alternating black squares with white. And the corner is always filled in with that color. So the corner of the row always has the color of the row. So this would be my B color, A color, B color, A color. When I look at the back, it actually matches. It is the same. So the color, the spots that can't change are the same on the front and the back, and that's actually really important for figuring out the back side of the chart. So this is still going to be gray on this row, and black on that row, and gray on that row, and black on that row. The thing that does change is if I, on the front, put a black square, when I go to the back, and remember, what I put on the left side is going to end up on the right side of the back, that black square is going to turn into a gray square. So on the spaces that you get to choose the color is reversed. But on the spaces where you don't get to choose the color doesn't change. And that's why it looks so different. If the color on the spaces you didn't get to pick changed too, then it would just be like a negative photograph or like an inverse color design. But because those ones don't change, but the other ones do change, you get a completely different design, which is actually pretty cool and can be super frustrating. So for example, this square here was that black square I added. And then when I look on the back chart, that'll be this square over here, and it should be gray. So I had black, gray, gray, black, gray, black. On the back, it'll be gray, black, black, gray, black, gray. Let's look. So starting from the right, gray, black, black, gray, black, gray. So it's alternating. It's reverse of the colors that I chose, but the grid colors are still the same for the front versus the back. And like I said, left to right. So I know this can be really confusing, and maybe you don't really care because you don't actually have to know how it works, but I know when I started interlocking crochet, it really drove me crazy that there wasn't a back chart. So I always try to include back charts with my patterns. It's not always the easiest because the software isn't quite there, but especially for smaller patterns, I can do it. And I actually might do another video later to show you how I can do it in Stitch Fiddle, which is a free software. I actually use the paid version, but it's super cheap. It's not the easiest way to do it because you can't like overlay templates, but yeah, in another video, if you're interested, I can show you how to create a back chart if you have the front chart. Okay, So I hope that was useful. I know it was kind of technical and kind of weird, but it's also kind of fun, and you hopefully learned something new for all you interlocking fans. So if you want to give that spreadsheet a try, you totally can. Like I said, I will share it with you. You'll have to save a copy of it. So when you click the link, it should prompt you to save a copy before you can use it, so that you don't actually mess up my spreadsheet if you like change all the cells on the back. Okay, so happy crocheting.